helping you lead a healthier life. This is CURES.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CURES Show, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness for our mind, body, and spirit. I think we can mostly agree that the truth is most women do most of the extra work at home. So how do we have more balance and really get the whole family to chip in without all the dreaded nagging? Sugarman-Li is a certified fair play facilitator and family coach and author of the highly anticipated children's book, Our Home, The Love, Work, and Heart of the Family. She tackles real-life family issues, but in a fun, relatable manner. Yes, there it is. To set the stage really for children to shine and for moms to get more rest. I'm all in for that. Thanks for being with us.
I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you.
So let me first ask you about your history. How did you what is a certified play instructor, and how did this become a passion for you?
So fair play is a system and a language to support families through understanding the scope and the value of all of the tasks that we need to accomplish really in our daily flow. And the way I came to it is actually through a big bubble bursting moment for me. I had a 15-year paid career in marketing and strategy. And after having my first child, the flexibility that I was looking for in the workplace wasn't on offer. And so I thought, you know what? Let me pivot my skills and my passions and my contributions to what we sort of call the economy of care. So the unpaid work of care and household tasks and community and charity. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to grow in new ways, and I thrived in it. In that role, I moved my family internationally twice, and each time we move, I have to revisit our guiding family documents like wills and insurance and whatnot. We moved from Canada to the UK and UK to the US, and when we move, we don't have a safety net of family. It's really just the four of us. And my husband said to me, let's look at getting you disability insurance, because if anything were to happen to you, he said, I would take a leave and take the lead of the home. And so we went through the rigmarole of applying for disability insurance, only for me to be rejected, being told by the insurance agent that since I don't generate revenue in this role, that there really isn't a tangible loss if something were to happen to me. And it was such a fire lighting moment for me, knowing how much I contributed and knowing how I was growing and achieving and accomplishing in this role, to be told by someone that actually it isn't of value simply because it doesn't generate revenue, was incredibly discouraging, but at the same time, incredibly motivating, and started me on this journey to speak and write and teach about the visibility of this labor, the value of this labor, and the opportunity to remove gendering from the labor and let it be for all.
Yeah, and I know it's 2024. I have a busy career. I want to think I have a hands-on husband. But would you still say we're very not equitable when it comes to most of the extra work at home is still done by women?
Definitely. And this is the case whether women are working outside of the home or focused fully on work inside the home. We know that globally, women take on at least 75% of this work. And that measure is actually only of the executional work. It doesn't take into consideration the mental and emotional load, which we know women carry so much of, right? This cognitive labor. And so just understanding that for women, it's becoming a wellness issue, and it's something that we need to tackle and change.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to manage not only our careers, but if you are working outside the home, but I actually think the most stressful part is not here in the TV studio, and that's saying a lot because we handle stress here, but it's all the calendaring and the doctor's appointments and the who goes where and who goes what, and yes. Even if you have some help, someone's got to manage it all. It really is. I read one study that women are working about 90 hours a week if you put all of that in.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. So whoever is doing this work, there is so much involved in the execution, but also in the cognitive and the emotional, and it weighs very heavily. The opportunity is for all of us to understand the scope of this work and have a stake in it and share it. And we do this, first of all, by giving this work value. And second of all, by changing the energy about how we talk about it. You know, we speak about chores. And really the word chore is such a downer. It's defined as tasks that are unappealing and tedious and repetitive. But really, this is the work of gratitude. I mean, this is the work of nourishing and nurturing and creating spaces that are healthy and safe and adhering to municipal and community standards and protecting our investments like our home and our car. And so shifting the way we speak of it and the energy we give to it is another opportunity to engage more people in it. So we don't always feel like, as women, as mothers, we're carrying the entire load.
Yeah, okay. So that's that's why you wrote this first of its kind book, Our Home. And it's a book, I guess it's meant for kids, but it sparks conversations in the house to look really so that adults, maybe your partner, the idea of everybody pitching in and that somehow doing chores is actually a joy. It seems like a stretch for us to change this conversation. I'm thinking of my teens who have out-of-body experiences sometimes when I ask them to do their chores.
It's understandable because for so long we have spoken about it as, you know, the stuff that we have to do to get to the stuff that we want to do. But the reality is that the work of the home, first of all, is incredibly meaningful. And if you can explain the meaning of this to your kids, and yes, my book is for younger children, but I do hope that it can inspire these conversations, as you said, spark these conversations among families with kids of any age. And the opportunity is really to begin to talk about why we do all this work. So don't look at it as like an endless list of tasks and chores, but as items that really have tangible and meaningful contribution to our lives. So when I talk to my 13-year-old, for example, about the need to change his sheets, it helps for me to explain to him that having clean sheets will help facilitate him having clear skin. And when I speak to my kids about the need to keep our car clean, it's not just that it's annoying when it gets messy. It's that if we maintain the value of our car, potentially when we go to trade it in or sell it, it will have a higher value and that will have a benefit to our family. So being able to articulate the meaning behind the tasks takes it from being just an endless list of chores to something that actually we can feel the benefit of, and then we have a greater stake.
Okay, so what's step one? If you're one of the moms that's carrying most of the load, which is like a lot of people watching this, how do we begin to shift this so that we're not nagging all the time and so that we get some of that rest?
So where I love to suggest families start is with a conversation or a meeting, and it doesn't have to be a long and drawn out meeting, but just an opportunity to connect on truly how your family is flowing through life. Are you feeling successful as a unit? Are you feeling stuck in some places? And what are the things that you truly value? What is really important to you as a family unit? And what is it going to take for you to feel like a success? What are you doing that maybe you wish you weren't doing and that you can release? And so inviting kids into these really important conversations is such a great opportunity for them to feel empowered and trusted and to hear that their voices matter. So a family meeting where you talk about your values and where you feel successful as a family and where you feel stuck is a great place to start. And from there, you create the standards for your family, and then standards will dictate what needs to be done and who can do what.
Okay, and so this division of labor, I know it will depend on how old your children are, but ideally you don't want to just assign and say, you have to do this. You're doing trash and you're doing this in that have to energy. But ideally you would want your kids to even pick, because when they have ownership, they have more pride and maybe it aligns with what they like to do better?
Yeah, so this is such a great opportunity. Once you have the chance to connect as a family on what you each feel your strengths are, where you might feel like you struggle a little bit, and once you understand again the scope of all the work that happens in the house, you can begin to connect to things where you feel you will have success. And of course, the starting point is always that children are connected with tasks that are safe and age appropriate. But beyond that, we want them to do things where they're going to feel like a success. And so it makes sense to start by matching them to things that will leverage their skills. So, for example, my 11-year-old is a great little organizer. And so, one of the things I invite him in on is to unpack the groceries and organize the pantry and the fridge. You can also match kids to passions and things that bring them joy. And so my older son loves to listen to music. He's really motivated by that. So he does a bunch of the tasks in the home, like vacuuming and such, where he can have his headphones on and he's moving around and it really brings him joy. Similarly, my younger son folds laundry while watching European soccer highlights. So again, it takes away from that feeling of chore and connects it to something that's really enjoyable. You may have a child who thrives more with partnership and a bit of a shadow. And so there are things where they can really thrive in that and kind of a learning experience. So like laundry or yard work is a great place for a partnership type of execution.
Okay, so I only have 2 kids, and I will say that we do want them to do chores, especially as they're older now. It becomes a little bit more like, you do your laundry, you do yours. Is that the wrong approach to say everybody take care of their own stuff? Is that less of the partnership you're trying to create?
No, I think that's a fantastic opportunity for a system that works for your family. And ultimately, when you have children that are older, you're really preparing them to be independent and someday to be strong partners. And so whatever it is that they will thrive in, that they will connect to, that they will feel empowered in is what works for you. And that's the beautiful thing about these family systems is it eliminates the judgment of others or the concern of what anyone else is doing, and it really focuses on what works for you.
Okay.
Everyone in your family is wired differently. You all have different needs, and so your way is the way.
So, but so many people are dealing with either their kids not completing the chores, or mom just does it anyway, or this feeling of resentment because everyone's going to go kick off their shoes and watch a show while you're cleaning up the kitchen. So we want to shift that, and not, part of the reason you wrote this book is not to consider all of that women's work. I do find when you ask people to do things, at least right now, and I think this is probably the case with lots of families, is you ask and you get a lot of pushback. You get a lot of nagging. What's the solution for that? Because this view that you have of people doing their chores joyfully, I bet you seems foreign to a lot of people.
So it's an interesting evolution that we're taking from a time where it was very much a because I said so kind of approach by parents to now with this idea of gathering as a family and establishing your values and then connecting those values to the standards that you want to work toward. It becomes a because we agreed to, and it's less about seeing the mother as the manager and everybody else as helpers, and really about coming to the table with an equitable, not equal, but an equitable division of labor where everybody really understands their stake in all of this and makes a commitment. And of course, teenagers especially, they're very focused on grades and extracurriculars and getting into colleges, and they should have a strong focus on that. And of course, there may be an opportunity where you need to remind or whatever, but again, have trust in them. Give them the space that they need. If they didn't get it done by when they said they would, ask them to give you an updated completion time and let them know that you're going to be checking in at that time. Also, let them know that you're continuing to sort of carry the burden of this until you know that it's done, and that you'll be really happy for them to connect back with you when it has been completed. And so it becomes more of a partnership in that way, more of a conversation, more inviting your kids to the table to let you know if they are struggling with something, if they'd rather do something else. The systems are in place, but they can always be updated.
Okay. And part of it is you say we should actually create a drafted family agreement. So what does that look like? How do we do that?
Again, it's whatever your family needs to guide you. But this is sort of at that first family meeting where you come together and say, what's really important to us? And, you can write it down. You can have someone who is the note taker. And then you can sort of have something special that everybody holds when they're speaking and pass around, make sure everybody's voice is heard. But it really becomes the North Star of your family that you can come back to and say, are we honoring this agreement that we made and how we've been working together? And if not, you have something to go back to and say, guys, we need to revisit this because we're stuck. We're not flowing in the way that we had wanted to, that we had agreed we would work towards. And we need to come together and figure out what's causing the stickiness, what's causing, as you said, the resentment, or maybe it's duplication of effort, or maybe it's things being forgotten, et cetera.
Yeah, and you say it's really important that we not genderfy this. Number one, we've lived for decades of women's work, but even if, let's say, one of you is more organized, one of you is more the paper person, we traditionally think of men doing the finances, but you would say make this talent-based. If you're the one who's better at tracking things and understanding financial softwares or likes to take notes, you're the better student, you should maybe do that. And maybe the man in your house might be more of buying the groceries and doing the laundry, like they're better with their hands. So you want this to be skill-based.
Absolutely. And there's research now that tells us that when men are involved in care, violence goes down, their wellness increases, children's wellness increases. Men are incredibly capable, beautiful caregivers. And because we've used language for so long, to your point, it's been decades and decades of, women's work and mother knows best and women's intuition and women are better multitaskers, et cetera. It's been quite alienating of men. But we know that not only are men equally as capable of almost anything. Of course, there are a couple of things like nursing a baby that a woman can only do, but men can certainly support that process. But it's really time to release this notion that women are uniquely wired to do this work better, because it is compounding on women's health that we're carrying so much of this load, and it's leaving men out of something where they really have the potential to be such beautiful contributors.
Yeah, so you really want to change the language around this. What do you think the health cost is for women if we keep going down the path that we've been on?
Well, we know that 80% of autoimmune diseases are are diagnosed in women. And we also know that women are twice as likely to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And a lot of this is the result of this weight that we carry in our homes and our communities and in society, and the pressure, the immense pressure that we feel and the immense mental load that we carry. And so we really need to begin to shift our language and shift how we see this work to be able to liberate women from this and create systems by which it becomes overall less heavy, less of a burden, more efficient for your family.
Language matters. So when we're talking to our kids, you want to do more of, would you please help me with this? Or I trust you can get this done by tomorrow. Or it's more about showing gratitude rather than you need to do this or else.
It's really about an opportunity to show them how important their contribution is, how meaningful their engagement is. And yes, help is a funny one, right? Because when you talk about helping, there is this presumption that the mother in most cases is still the owner of the task and people are sort of waiting in the wings to be called. The opportunity that I hope we can accomplish is really full ownership and kids, really understanding that they have the muscle to show up for whatever the task assigned to them is and deliver on it wholeheartedly. And I love acknowledgement of the importance and of the contribution. It's not really about thank you per se, because it's not necessarily work that you're doing for me, but it's the acknowledgement of what you have contributed to this family and to this household to make us thrive.
So appreciation and modeling that, I guess. So often we just, as women, will just do it. And sometimes on our not so great days, we're begrudging. Like, I had to do everything. I mean, I can admit that I've sometimes done that when we get overwhelmed. So even starting with our husbands or our partners, if they start doing a task, even if you think it's simple, showing that appreciation of that's great. Oh, that's really lightening the load for the group, rather than, oh, thanks for helping me out.
Exactly. And it's such a neat difference. I mean, my son, who's 11, is the head laundry folder for our family.
For
and
everyone.
when he finishes with the towel, yes, when he finishes with the towels, for example, I'll say to him, that would have taken me a half an hour. And because you did it, I want to tell you what I did with that half an hour. And maybe I read a book, or maybe I went for a walk, or whatever I did. You had an impact to me. You had an impact to this household. And that's actually really a source of esteem and pride for kids. And, just them not just having a list to check that they have to do before they can then do something fun, but this actually becomes something. And there's research as well to say that kids who are involved in chores, even as early as age 3, there's a direct correlation to increased success in the workplace and in personal relationships later on in life. So there's more benefit to the kids than, just to them completing a task for the household, but it's creating bridges for them to thrive later on in life.
Yeah, okay. No, that does make sense. And in fact, on this show, we just recently had the founder of Busy Kid. He ties a lot of these chores to money. And so I want to ask your thought about that, because he's teaching kids value about money, that when you get it's allowance made simple. It sounds to me like you're talking about two different things, the idea of pride and ownership and just being part of a team, and also getting paid. Or is it okay that we pay for some of these chores? And how do you reckon those two things?
So I think allowance is a really productive concept for instilling financial literacy in kids. I think that teaching kids how to manage money and how to save and spend properly and allocate for charitable giving, very, very valuable. But I think if you allocate money to the work of home and care without first establishing its inherent value, you've missed a step. So I love to have these conversations. That's why I wrote a book for really little kids before we start talking about allowance and things like that, to establish the value of this work in terms of a contribution of care and gratitude to one another. And then if you want to apply, a financial gain to it later on in life, keeping in mind that once you become an independent and a partner, this work is not paid, right? So it has to have inherent value for you to feel connected.
Okay, so there's the sticking point, right? When you're saying, it's a buck to sweep the floors, it's $2 to do this, or all of that, and they like get to press the button and they instantly get these rewards. Money can be a motivator, but that goes back to your original thing where you were declined for insurance because they said your work was free, and if it's free, it's not valuable. You want us to understand that contributing to the family, doing chores, working as a unit, has much more value than we could just put a dollar sign on.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So I think it's probably an aspiration for a lot of people at this point, because we're all in this thing of let's just get it done. Oh my gosh, there's so much the day just. So when I hear your 11-year-old just folding everybody's laundry and everybody's towels, that almost sounds like, wow, how do you do that? So if you're just starting this, what would be step one to kind of shift? Because maybe right now you just have some grumpy people who aren't helping as much as they should and are already feeling overwhelmed with their school, or your husband's whatever he has to do. Everyone's feeling, oh, not one more thing. So how do you go from not one more thing to, I am folding all these towels and I am so proud?
Right. So it is a process, but it is a muscle that builds with time and with encouragement. And the key is really communication. And one of the biggest changes that I made as a parent was to do all of this work much more loudly. When I started off, I was sort of doing it all like a fairy, like silently and magically. And, I never wanted anyone to see the mess. I only wanted them to see everything was perfect. And that was the level that I was contributing at. But that actually wasn't teaching them. And I really shifted my mindset to do all of these things with so much more of an educational element to my kids, and really not saving it all to when they were at school or asleep, but doing it in front of them and inviting them in and showing them the little stuff. Like, you never think to show your kid how you pick the lint, out of the dryer, and why do we have to do that? Or, teaching them how to like peel a potato or whatever it is. Just invite them in, because ultimately, I think kids just really want to be a part of what we're doing and be connected to where we are. And so if we do all that work when they're not watching, and then, save only the sort of the fun connection time, we're missing an opportunity for the work of the home to be that point of connection and that point of teaching and empowerment and trust building. And I have to say that all the memories of my dad are of us doing things around the home together, going up into the attic for the lawn furniture that we stored for the winter, or sweeping out the garage. And it is such an opportunity to connect with your kids and to empower them for their future lives. And I know it's heavy. I know it's a lot. I'm not saying laundry is fun, but if you can shift your perspective slightly and shift your energy slightly and do the work a little bit more loudly so that people are more aware of all of it, you will start to see this shift.
Right, and I just want to shout out your book again. It's coming out, Our Home, The Love, Work, and Heart of the Family. Is this like a children's book that we would read at night at bedtime? How would we use this book?
Yes. I mean, I wrote it to be a conversation starter for families. So whenever you have the chance to connect, and of course, most of the reading happens before bed, but it is an interesting read during the day because it does illustrate so many of the things that we do around the house, and even the little things like putting your Kleenex in the garbage after you've blown your nose. It's the little stuff. It's not that a child has to like clean the entire bathroom, but it's just the awareness of the value of all these little things that you can do to be aware of the care that you're providing to everyone that you share your space with, and the power of families as a unit.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea that we'd be coming together and the connections you've made, that this really is a time because women's mental health is important. And, if the mom is struggling and not happy, that hurts the whole family. So this is a way to shift that conversation. Maybe a good way to start is the book and getting everyone on board. But Lori Sugarman-Li is a certified fair play facilitator and family coach. We appreciate your time and your perspective, and I'm hoping to implement some of these ideas.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear.
Absolutely. And you can follow Lori. Shout out where people can find you as well. Where can you get the book?
Okay, great. Well, the book is available everywhere books are sold, and it's available for pre-order now, shipping April 30th. And you can find me on Instagram at Our Home, Our Pride. And when I talk about pride, it's not a pride in perfection. It's a pride in feeling safe and balanced in your own space in a way that works for your family.
All right. We appreciate your time. Thanks for being here for the Kara's Cure Show. And you can follow me at Kara Sundlin on social media. Have a great day, everyone, and be well.